Hello, my name is Karia Florina, and I am here to talk a little bit about summoning. Summoning is something that I enjoy. It is very, very hard for most people. See, summoning uses a lot of power inside of you. It, it typically will use more than what the average person has available. This is why they have people use tools and items and things because they can store their power bit by bit in each item and then they can use it all combined. So if you take that into consideration, summoning is probably one of the skills that would take the longest to grow up to be able to do, and it's not exactly the one most want to do. Now that said, summoning also is an incredibly dangerous one. See, if you do summoning, you are calling creatures that can kill you. I'm not kidding. Even the weakest demons can usually paralyze, poison, break bones, and possess, influence, and more of the average human. So, it is not a skill you want to start off as your first. Trust me, it's not. It costs way too much energy, and you need to work with things like manipulating aura and possibly spells, the elements. Those are things you want to do first. This is because, well, summoning takes more energy than most can do. And because humans are relatively weak, they usually get hurt when they do summoning, especially if they do it frequently. First 2 or 3 might be fine, but maybe time 6 or time 4, the person will get hurt. And every time you summon, you have a chance of permanently opening up a portal, which will allow free traffic between you and the other realms. And you usually cannot use it. They can, which means you can have uninvited guests enter your home. This is partially why those who do rituals and summonings often are heavy on cleansing and removing of energies. By doing that, they remove the energies that would become the permanent portal, thus helping prevent permanent portals in their home. Many summoners do not do summoning inside their home. This is why you will hear of at the graveyard, this group did a summoning to try to summon so-and-so. Well, that's kind of the smarter option. And graveyard, we'll get into that location later. By doing it outside your home, if you do accidentally make a permanent portal, it's not in your home. Your home isn't going to be, hopefully, as haunted. Now, permanent portals, they can actually attach themselves to a person. So let's say I had one attached and it was literally like a little bit above my shoulder and right here. That would mean that there is free traffic between this space and wherever the other side of the portal is. That could be incredibly dangerous for me. However, if the portal, let's say, because it's very rare that they attach to a living person. So let's say I did it in the park. There could become a portal opened in the park. And that would mean that a demon or a creature of non-earthly origin could pass back and forth through that portal at the park, but generally they don't leave the area the portal's in. They don't leave that area too far. It's a territory thing, it's a safety thing, because even here, there are areas like this area has this person who watches over it, so if this portal is over here and they cross over to this area, they can get in trouble. And they can potentially get killed. And so it's safer just to stay in the area near the portal. It makes sense. I'm sure you guys would do similar. So, why the graveyard? Graveyards have, dead bodies. Dead bodies continuously leak energy from when they were alive, and another energy that's what I put into a category of dark energies. So dark type, which would be death. It is an energy emitted from the decomposing and dead. And, okay, we're back. And, so the decomposing and dead, they release a steady amount of energy. When they were alive, they had aura, and there's some aura that will be released for an unspecified amount of time after they die. This can be harnessed and used in summonings very, very easily. However, do be careful, because death energy, when combined with a summoning, can cause the summons, or the thing you summon, to become very, very violent. So please be careful. Summoning is not for the faint of heart. It is not an easy task. It is a very, very difficult thing to do. Let's say, or I'll use myself as an example. 6 years ago, I could do a summoning. I've been able to do one my entire life, but I could only do one at a time. That was my limit. I couldn't do more. So I'd have to pick who to call, who to help me. Now, about 4 years ago, I started really training in summoning. Not just accidental or instinctual, which I've done a lot of, and it's caused a lot of problems for me. But more intentional, like using tools, using items, trying my hardest. And I failed. To be blunt, I failed repeatedly. I couldn't get these tools, these items. I couldn't even get the thing to work when I wanted it to. So, if you're trying to summon and you're used to summoning by accident or unintentionally, and when you try to do it intentionally and you fail over and over, don't worry. It's just the way that you use your power. See, when I do summonings, before that, I would have a wish in my heart, and I'd just pour it out. I'd be like, I want someone to help me. And I'd want it so bad that it would cause it. My power knew what it was doing. A lot of powers already know. And if you learn to do it physically, there's usually a part of you that already knows how to do that skill. And what the trick is to physically be able to do it is to learn what your method is. There are, let's say, 1,000+ ways to summon. However, my method is just, let's say, one, that wish holding. I can also, with training, have been able to use a pentagram. With this one, I can twist it like it's a key, so kind of crooked to upright, like unlocking, and then put my energy into it, and just think of who I want to call. And if you have sight, you can see that I am not very great at control. I am a little sorry. Okay, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry to you guys, I'm sorry to them, because they have to put up with me. I can also use cards or pictures that I've drawn on different things. Alright. Sorry I had to pause again. I needed to move to a more comfy spot. So, now that we've gotten that kind of talked about, how summoning is dangerous, it's hard, it takes a lot of energy, and there are tons of ways to do it. You can use cards, you can use those little paper figures in animes, you can use the pentagram circle I have over there, you can use a pentagram on leather, and it has a space around each side. Put your hand on either side of the pentagram and put your energy into it and use that. You can use spells, you can use objects. I have a keychain that I can use. You can also enchant things to do that automatically when certain things are met. Example, I have another keychain that is a light, seafoam green stuffed cat that, if I'm in danger, will summon a cat of the exact color to protect me. So the colors of the keychain and the cat that it summons match. But if something is attacking me, this cat will automatically be summoned by the keychain if I wear it around, which will naturally gather up the excess energy I put off, which is another thing I put on it. So, if you, I don't know what you might want to summon. I've met people who want to summon the devil. I've met people who want to summon an elemental. I've met people who want to summon a phoenix. Some who just want to summon a friend from other places. Some that want to summon a whole other person from the physical to another point on the physical. Those would be the most difficult because you're going against what their body, their entire being says is right. When you summon something, it can happen through many ways. It can be a portal where something gets dragged through. It can be where the thing is broken down into pretty much an energy, dragged through a portal, and put back together. That's kind of like how Borderlands revives someone, but it's only a temporary. It can be, I don't know, elemental based actually. If you have you can use a gust of wind to assist you. So in carrying, there's a wind summon that is a circle with 4 arrows pointing in from the corners, but pointing into the center at a angle. Not up and down, left or right. No, these are the angles. So not the poles, but then between. So I kind of wanted to go on about it because I have a friend right now who's having a lot of issues with summoning, and I wanted to try to make something to help them. However, to be blunt, there's not much I can do more in a lot of cases. I hope that people understand the biggest issue with summoning is the lack of energy, the lack of power one can put into it. See, when you summon something, there's that initial amount that you use, right? So the amount that you use to do the summons, or fill the item to do it for you, or to activate the keychain to do it. But then there is a second requirement for power. It continuously pulls off of the summoner. The summons pulls off the summoner to maintain its position there. So if I summon something, it's going to come, let's say, using whatever method I choose, and then it will stay as long as I have the power to give to it. If I don't have the power, it usually will go back home like a poof, fail. Like, you don't have the strength, we don't stay. However, this is what makes summoning partially one of the more dangerous and potentially most dangerous practices. If you piss off your summons and you don't dispel it before you run out of power, it potentially could choose to stay on its own power and rip you apart. I am not kidding you when I say summons can rip you apart. My teacher that taught me summoning, he literally told me almost all summoners die by what they summon. So don't take summoning lightheartedly, and don't disrespect your summons. Now, let's get into the other side. I've described the point of view from the summoner, but from the summon's point of view, they're being called, they're being ripped from their home, from wherever they are. They could be holding their baby as far as you know, and you rip them from that and take them to where you are. And most summons, when they are summoned, are forced to fight, are forced to work. Very, very, very few summoners want to summon to hang out, to be friends. Very few summoners actually ask their summons. So they are being forced to do labor, to do battle. And even if when they go back all their wounds are healed, because the amount of power, part of what sends them back and why you can't continue is because part of the power being drained is to keep them here, but also when they go back, they get automatically healed. Usually. So they are being forced to do battle, and oftentimes summons get killed by by what the summoner is facing. So they come here, or by force, they're forcefully dragged here, forced to fight, get to experience all the pain of that fight and being killed potentially, and then poofing back home, and the summoner usually isn't very grateful. If you don't realize it, summoners usually don't say thank you. So they're doing all of this without even a thank you. They're doing it without even an acknowledgement of their work. Think of how you would feel if you got dragged from your home to a place that potentially hurts you to be in. The environment hurts potentially. And you are forced to fight. You don't get a choice. Like when I said, Odin, protect me and my home. If that was a successful one, and let's say it was uber successful. Let's say it worked 100%, which it doesn't. If he did it, it would be by choice. Because I am not strong enough to force Odin to do anything. Except for maybe come from one place to another that he visits often using the power of like 10 plus individuals. I'm not kidding. It is not an easy task to call him anywhere. It's easier just to ask him, hey, can you come here? But let's say it was successful. He would get no choice but to protect me and my home. However, this also means he could attack my husband because I didn't specify not attacking those I love. Do you see where, like, they can actually get vengeance without hurting you? They can hurt your loved ones. And when you're called like that, I would be angry. I know so many others would be very angry. Sure, maybe once or twice is okay, but imagine you were holding your newborn and you got ripped away and forced to battle, and you were pushed past your limits, and you were killed, and your summoner repeatedly summoned you back. And so your baby, you'd appear right back to where your baby was, who had fallen on the floor, and you can't pick him up. And you're stuck there, and maybe their arm is where you were standing. I am not kidding. This is the story of a summons that I met. I basically destroyed the bond between him and his summoner because the summoner abused him very, very badly. Don't worry, the summoner's fine. It's on like a temporary break because he needs to be with his family, and that summoner can fuck
Didn't
off.
mean to curse.
He ended up forcing his summons to break his own baby's arm without intending it. But still, and when the summoner heard about it, he laughed at his summons for having a family. Like, come on. If someone did that to you, you probably want to kill them too. So that is why that bond is broken. It is for the summons and the summoner's protection. But I'm not kidding when I say these stories. They are real. They are ones that hurt. So, now that we've gotten all the not so pleasant details out of the way, right? Like, none of that was very fun. None of that was very pleasant. So, how do you even do a summons? Like, how would you do it? Well, that's kind of up to you. Summons and summoning is a very, very tricky course. First, it's an ability kind of thing, where you have it or you don't. It's kind of a hit or miss. Not everyone can summon, but not everyone can cook well. Some people, no matter how hard they try, are never able to really cook a decent meal. even though they put thousands of hours of effort into it. So it's a hit or miss. Some people are good, some people are not. Some people can put thousands of hours of effort and never get any better. I have met a person who put about 1,000 hours of cooking and didn't get any better. And that's why I'm using that as an example. It was very strange to find. So it's also like transformation. Transformation is more or less an ability that's a hit or miss. So if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. Summoning is one of those that with tools that can do it for you, most humans are able to, because they have a tool that has the ability more or less in it. However, let's say you don't have the tool. Let's say you have that ability. You have the skill. So first, you have to get a summons. That can be really tricky. You have to basically get a demon to be your summons. And because of the reputation summoners have among the summons as being pretty much pieces of shit. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Oh, well, pieces of fecal matter. Let's go with that. I rate my videos as adult only because they are potentially very dangerous, and I don't want kids. I don't want to interact with kids on these things. It's too much of a risk, in my opinion. So, let's say you have the ability and you need your summons. There's many ways you can do that. First, you can call upon something very powerful. Many people could call upon the devil, or Satan, or Lucifer. And don't you tell me they're all the same, because they are not. They're all different, and I don't want to hear it. So, let's say I call upon, let's go with Odin again, because he's fun. And he's like a grandpa to many people, so why not? So let's say I call upon Odin, and I say I'd like to have a summons. I'd like to have a summons so I can become a summoner. And let's say he's like, okay, here you go. And not everyone will. Some of them will tell you, oh, go call upon so-and-so, or don't bug me with such matters. But let's say he's like, okay, here's a summons for, let's go with a raven. Because he's known for his crows and ravens and protecting and watching over. And let's say he likes you and he wants to watch over your skill and see how good you become. So let's say he gives you one of his ravens you can summon. So when you summon it, and it's going to be invisible pretty much when you first do it, how do you use him? How do you grow a bond? Well, you can talk with him. You can ask him to possess something so you can pet it. It can be a stuffed animal, it can be a creature, it can be anything. You could ask him to fly around in a circle, and so on. You could take your energy, and let's say you make a little treat out of your energy, and you give it to him, right? And he eats it. It's not too difficult. It's a little treat, like a mini little ore ball in a cube, or an ore cube. And that's their treat, let's say. And that can help build their bond with you, because you're treating them with kindness. And when your bond with a summons is better, it's easier for you to summon. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So, let's say you build your bond with your summons. And as you build your bond, your summons will get stronger. And let's say you want to train your summons. Well, to train them, you have to figure out what they are. So let's go with the raven. He's a bird. Let's see if we can ask him to fly in the sky and train his muscles. Right? He can also work on sharpening his beak and the strength of his beak. This could be through eating different things. Or, I don't know. You use your imagination. I'm not going to tell you all the answers. And with summons, you can actually share your food with them. They won't necessarily eat the physical part of it, but they'll eat a part of it that's kind of invisible to you. And this part will usually make the food taste not quite as good for you, but you'll still get the nutrition and the energy and such from it. So I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit tricky, a little bit difficult. But if you manage to make your summons stronger, and they will grow with time usually. So a summons that, let's say, starts off this big could grow to be several feet tall. I have had multiple that started off maybe a foot or under, and now they're sometimes even more than a couple stories high. So don't fret over size and power and such. It'll come. They will grow. If you feed them, take care of them, it'll work. And if you don't know how to take care of, this is why you start off with like energy manipulation, the elements. Because even if you can't physically manipulate them, you can probably do the invisible-ish version, the astral version, on the physical. So if you summon them, you could, let's say, give your summons a bath. Or maybe give them food. Combine it in such a way that it becomes a treat or food. Or if you do well, you have a good cooking skill, you could take your energy, make a copy of your meal, and give them the copy. I mean, yours isn't going to taste quite as good because you're giving them pretty much that invisible version. But, I mean, you're not eating alone, and typically, summons, they'll eat human food. I mean, you gave it to them. You're treating them with kindness. Even in places where these summons live, they usually don't treat each other with kindness. It is every man for himself in some areas. So it can be very, very sad. I hope that makes sense. And I hope this can help some of you. Okay. I hope this helps some of you, and I hope that this works out, that you can do your summons, and now you have at least some idea of how to take care of them. I hope you have a great day. Anyway, bye.